Hello, everyone. I'm Becca, dietitian by trade, mom 24/7, wife from the start, and when there's a few extra hours in the day, you might find me hitting the trails or on horseback.
And I'm Kara, a therapist to women, a mom to a boy, an entrepreneur, mountain junkie, and a postpartum runner.
And this is Fit for a Queen, a podcast that's devoted to the female athlete wanting to balance the teeter-totter of all the things we desire out of life as women: performance, health, intellect, and taking time for self, even if we only get 1 minute out of the day.
We're so excited to be bringing you the queens in the athletic world who have done just that. Okay, ladies, take a seat at your thrones, grab your crowns, and welcome to Fit for a Queen.
Welcome back, queens. We're so excited. We have Briana, or we're going to call her Bri Butler. She is a registered dietitian and former professional athlete in the Houston area. Upon retirement from the WNBA and overseas basketball, Bri followed her passion for health and sports by pursuing a career in performance dietetics, believing from experience that nutrition efforts and performance are congruous. Since switching careers, Bri has worked with collegiate professional and health and wellness clients in private practice and under world-renowned brands, empowering them to reach their goals while including foods they love. Above all, Bri finds purpose in being a wife to her husband, Brice, and full-time mom to her children, Braiden and Liana. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Bri. We're so excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Definitely excited to chat with you guys as well.
Yeah. So, one person's journey is a big part of their interest, right? So tell us a little bit about were you always a big basketball? Because everybody that listens to this knows I'm a big basketball person. Did you end up falling in love with it later? And then how did you end up evolving in your professional sports career?
Great question. So it's funny, basketball was actually the only sport that I really liked when I was younger. I tried a lot of things. My parents will tell you, I tried Little League, soccer. I quit soccer, tried karate, quit karate. They were like, you just would not stick to anything. I actually loved ballet, so that was something else. But I got into basketball because my sister was playing. And I was like, okay, well, it seems interesting. And, if she can do it, then I can do it. I was a big, if she can do it, I can do it. Hence why I tried soccer and karate. And so I was like, let me try it and see, and really just fell in love with the game. I played it, even though, through grade school and stuff, I tried out other stuff. I stuck with basketball. I really did. I loved it. And eventually it got to a point where I realized that I could go further. Started getting letters, started getting offers, and it's like, okay, you can potentially go to college. And at the time when I was growing up in Houston, we had a WNBA team called the Houston Comets. Mm-hmm. Most big basketball fans are familiar with them. Mm-hmm. 4-time back-to-back WNBA champions, and we had season tickets. And so that was my first exposure to professional women's basketball. I didn't know overseas was happening and all that stuff at the time, but for me, I saw those ladies and I thought, okay, you can actually make a profession out of this. As I went on in my career, I realized that I could take it farther and farther and farther. And I said, well, I've gotten this far. Why not, pursue it even more? But that kind of transitioned for me as I started getting more interested in health and wellness and seeing how it actually impacted my sport and my play. I think I first realized that when I was in college. In high school, I wasn't worried about it, just to be honest. But when I got to college and started getting exposed to more information around nutrition, started testing out some things and saying, okay, this can really have an impact. But when I turned pro is when I really tried to start implementing things more seriously. And I had my best years professionally when I really focused on nutrition. But when I, started doing that, I realized, okay, what kind of resources do we have? And so that's really what pushed me into becoming someone that was a part of the sports nutrition field.
Mm-hmm. So curious, did you get intrigued by basketball or the sports that your sister was doing because you wanted to do it with your sister, or was it the competitive piece
of playing against
sibling rivalry?
You know what? It was some of both. I'm not going to lie. It was some of both because we had some all-out duels on the basketball court. Okay, so I was always, like I said, I was always like, if she can do it, I can do it. And it was kind of from that competitive spirit where like, I might be smaller, but I can go out there. I can hold my own. I can do this too. And so it was definitely from a competitive side, but also at the same time, we were best friends. So I really wanted to be around her as much as possible. We were only, 18 months apart. So for us, it was like whatever we could do together, we loved it. But at the same time, we were very competitive. So if you ask my parents or any of our friends, they'll say, what were some of those backyard basketball duels like? And they got pretty competitive. 9 times out of 10, I was going inside crying or quitting or something like that. So
funny.
Crying or quitting.
My sister holds that over my head to this day.
Love it.
I'm just thinking, I can't imagine having a WNBA team in your hometown. Talk about seeing it and knowing you can be it. Like,
Right.
I remember I was an Iowa girl, so I grew up watching Vivian Stringer and the Iowa Hawkeyes, and that was just amazing to me. So I can't imagine being able to watch an NBA team,
Back
right?
then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was huge.
You also said something that was really interesting. It sounds like you really didn't have pressure either by your parents or on yourself to play at another level. You were kind of like, oh, I'm getting letters, which means I must be good. Do you think that was a pivotal piece of it, that you just kind of naturally let it happen?
Definitely. And I think it was something that was really important to my parents as well. So my dad actually was a professional track runner. So he actually, the year that they boycotted the Olympics, he was like top in the world in the 200 meter.
Oh, wow.
And so for him, it was like, if you guys want to play sports, you can play it. I'll support you, but you don't have to. And he always kind of hid all the things that he did. We found out later, all the medals and stuff that he had won, but it was something that they wanted us to choose for ourselves. And it was fun, right? So when I was young, it was fun. I enjoyed going to practice. I enjoyed doing basketball tournaments, all that type of stuff. And my mom, too, she was very supportive in whatever we wanted to do. And she always said, if it ever gets to a point where it's not fun for you, you don't have to do it. You can move on. You can do something else. You guys have so much potential, and you're not, your identity is not basketball. And so I think with all of that combined, it really helped me to really enjoy the game in its rawest form. And then it allowed me to say, okay, it's my choice, and I can decide if I want to play basketball or not. I don't have to, but I want to. I've worked pretty hard for it. So I think I want to keep going.
Nice. That sounds like some good flexibility there your parents gave you.
I'm going to kind of set you up for the next question.
Sorry. Becca has so much to ask you. I'm just going to let her take over.
Well, no. I'm not hogging it. But one thing I think that is really helpful in the next 2 questions Kara's going to follow up with is, can you kind of lay out what the life of a professional women's basketball player is? Because I think most people don't understand. Most of you guys are playing 2 different leagues. You're playing overseas ball, then you're coming home and playing American ball, and they don't realize the pressure and the fact that you guys don't get much downtime, unlike the NBA.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that is a great question. And that is actually something I have to explain on a regular basis. So what life is like. So it's essentially, let's say, you're fresh out of college, you get drafted. First and foremost, not a lot of people get drafted. There's literally 3 rounds, and there's 144 people in the league because each team has maybe 10 to 12 players, 10 to 13, depending on how much money a team has. But you go to a team, it's very cutthroat, hard to get in, hard to stay in. It's very, very difficult. And let's say you're one of those 144 ladies that are a part of the WNBA. You have your WNBA season. It's a normal day. So you wake up, you maybe go lift weights, you do practice, you do film, all that. And then you travel from city to city. You're not traveling private jets. You're traveling commercial. Southwest, you're trying to get your line, which is very unfortunate, and things that they're trying to fix and change now. But, you're staying in normal hotels, and you're going from city to city to play. And when your season is over, you likely have already signed a contract to go overseas. So you maybe have a week. Some people have a little bit longer. Some people have less time. Some people have like a day, and they have to be on the plane headed to Europe, headed to South America, headed to China, headed to Japan, wherever they're going to play, Australia. And you will spend probably the next 6 to 8 months overseas playing basketball. So essentially, it's year round. You go from WNBA to overseas to WNBA to overseas, unless you're not playing WNBA. If you're not playing WNBA, then you might have the summer off. But a lot of those ladies that aren't playing are still training really hard in case they get a call.
Sure.
Because you never know, you might get picked up, or an opportunity might come up somewhere overseas that you can play, during the summertime. So you just never know. You have to be ready for any opportunity. But it is year-round basketball. So you don't get like, the NBA or other sports league. You don't get a month or 2 months or however long off to rest your body. There is no such thing. You are going year round because that's how you make your money.
Yeah.
You're going to make the majority of your money overseas. And like I said, they're changing a lot of this now to make it more lucrative to stay in the States and not go overseas because of the injuries, because of, the fact of, well, I'm going to have to, sit out part of my WNBA season because I want to make sure I get paid overseas, and I can't afford to be hurt during that season, right? So you've got EuroLeague and EuroCup, and they're paying you a lot of money to be there. And a lot of times they're paying you more than what you were making in the WNBA used to be. So it was a priority to be healthy for your European season. So there's a lot of little things that happen between all of that goes on, but it's definitely year round, and it's pretty taxing on the body.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. I mean, an intensive year, and then also trying to figure out my body recovery, peak season. I mean, I would think you would have a lot of resources available to you to help with all of that, but is that true? What kind of resources were available to you during your career?
Oh man, it not many. I think when I was in WNBA, the first time I met with a dietitian was, I don't know, it was probably the end of my career. So it was like my 4th year. I think I was with the Indiana Fever, and we had like a team talk with a dietitian. But other than that, the resources, I mean, you have doctors like normal, physical therapists and athletic trainers, but even still, it's something that you kind of have to set up. You are kind of responsible for yourself, and which is, it comes with the territory of being a professional athlete. You're going to be responsible for yourself in a lot of aspects of the word. But in regard to resources, there's not a ton, right? So like, with NBA or like NFL, you'll see like these really nice facilities and like this whole training area and like, training tables and I mean, just the works, right? You will not see that in the WNBA locker room. You just won't. You will see training tables and maybe carts with athletic training gear on it, tape, that type of stuff, kinesio stuff, ice. But a lot of times it's not going to be very much. And I'll keep reiterating that I know they're trying their hardest to shift the narrative in this area with the new collective bargaining agreement. And so I'm hoping that things will continue to progress forward, but resources just weren't there. And they definitely weren't there whenever you go overseas.
And a recent thing,
over there.
Really. I mean, this kind of, I think, to the general public came out a little bit more last year at the...
During the tournament?
Yeah, during the tournament. And I think, again, it has taken a lot of time and then a lot of voices, I'm sure, to let that this is very, like the inequality of sport and finances going on. So,
Well, and finally it was on primetime TV. I mean, I think people would watch more. Mels were saying, like, the girls' games were far better than the men's, but they would never have the opportunity to watch them. So hopefully that... Royce sounded, he's like doing raise the roof. Like he's even saying like the games were far better.
you got us on our soapbox. Oh my God. So as a female athlete, where do you foresee the biggest areas of change is still needed? Or again, tell us a little bit more about what changes are happening. Give us a little update on what's going on.
Yeah, no. So I would say in regard to changes that are happening, so I know that the people that are in the WNBPA and just people that are working within the WNBA and around it are working to create more resources. So exactly what we're talking about now. So I know NECA Ogunwike actually just talked about a partnership with, a hormone testing company. And though, for us as healthcare professionals, we might say, oh, there might be some better options out there. For them, it's something, right? So
Sure.
it's something more than what they've had before. So I know they announced that they've also had some brand partnerships that have come about in regard to providing some of the ladies with just fuel resources, something, to have some sort of like snack table that they can choose from, making sure that the refrigerators are filled with hydration options, simple things like that have changed. Salary has changed. And that's been one of the biggest things that the ladies were advocating for, because at the end of the day, this is their livelihood. They have children, they have spouses, they have a life to live. And so they want to make their livelihood playing in the WNBA. And in order to do that, the salaries just had to be more. So we look at now max salaries changing and even, veteran minimums changing and rookie contracts changing, which is great. So you'll see as the years go on, just more resources becoming available to the women of the WNBA in all different kinds of ways. So that's a benefit. And even still, with those changes coming, I still think there need to be more resources, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
I think there still needs to be more opportunity to figure out what's going on with your body. And because I think, at the end of the day, you're still women. And, your body is going to function differently than a man. You need different things. And, you're at the age where you want to rear children, you want to have a family. And that's so important. And there's a lot of things that go into that process. And it requires people that specialize, people that can really give you sound science-based information that can help you get from point A to point B and aren't looking at you as just a basketball player. I don't know. I think I really could go on. I think there's so many different areas for improvement, but we have to kind of take it one day at a time.
So, Bree, I think it's helpful if you could actually throw out some average salaries. I think people are like, oh, yeah, they don't make that much. But I think they need to actually hear in an average WNBA season, let's say even 5 years ago, what would have been an average salary?
Yeah, so 5 years ago for a rookie, you're probably looking at anywhere between like 30,000 to 50,000, depending on when you're
Kara's
drafted.
face is like,
yeah.
So a rookie in the WNBA,
professional athlete.
Yes.
And that is
yes.
And again, do you feel
living in metro areas where cost of living is probably the highest, and they're
So then it would be really hard and then going internationally to make a little bit more money, right? Because you have to.
Exactly. Yes, because you have to. That's the key point, right? So as a rookie, and I remember, I was a rookie in my little apartment here in Phoenix off of Van Buren. Like you're living like anybody else would here in the city, and you've got your apartment, and you're doing things that you're being a professional athlete, so you don't really have the resources that you're supposed to. So like I said, that's, I think, some of my friends were saying, well, that's what I make, and they were like elementary school teachers.
Sure.
And so we were making the same salary, and now granted mine was made in the span of like 4 months or so. But if I didn't go overseas and continue making money, then what were my options, right? It was just that's it. Because this is kind of before things started really getting crazy with social media and things like that. Like even 5 years ago, the majority of your money was being made from just playing the sport. And so that's rookie. Veteran minimum was 50,000 and max contracts capped at 100,000. So think about
crazy.
A max contract, right? Like a Diana Taurasi, a Candace Parker, and their max contract can be 100,000. Where what do you think NBA max contract? When LeBron signing his super max deal,
like, is there a max?
If someone presented him with like 100,000, right? Like he would be like, "What is this?" is this for just like, is this 100,000?
Is this for me to get out of bed? Yeah.
Sure.
Like, this is nothing, right? So it's really a shame. And I think seeing that and knowing that and having the support also from NBA athletes and NBA management has really helped push the envelope in this area, because it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was never normal. That was never okay, because we were putting in the same work as any other professional athlete, right? And it's the same thing in a lot of women's leagues, right? So the National Women's Soccer League, they're fighting for equal pay now. And it shouldn't be a matter of, well, why are we even arguing the fact, right? Like, it should be automatic. We're putting in the same kind of work. We train our bodies the same way. We go through the same amount of effort. We dedicate the same amount of time to our craft. Why should there be any less pay? So, yeah, I know it's eye-opening, but that is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I know, Kara, being the maternal health specialist, you're right.
I mean, just thinking about, like, how do you have to make a decision about reproductive health and having babies and not getting paid and
taking your babies with you, like being able to travel
and a family on that salary. Yeah. Oh yeah. I can go down the rabbit hole.
My favorite Olympic picture was when Allison Phoenix, sorry.
Yeah.
And her little girl, like, running up to her mom after the race. And I'm like, yes, like, that's what we all want, is to be able to, one, let her have that. And also, like, you can be an athlete and a mom. It doesn't need to be or.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's such a beautiful thing. And I think, even now, you think about being an athlete and a mom, being an athlete and being pregnant, being an athlete and being a breastfeeding mom. Yeah. Like, there's so many different things that come with being a woman in general, and then pairing that with your athletic career and making the sacrifice, right? There's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make, a lot of decisions that have to be made. But at the end of the day, the two should be able to coincide without you having to risk the health of your body, the well-being of your family, or any of that stuff. So that's why I say, even though more resources are coming available, they need to continue to become more available so that these women can have what they want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Is that what led you to create your company, Power Portions? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that is exactly what led us. And I say us because my sister and I started the company after being overseas, and we actually started as a recipe blog because we were overseas and we were just, trying out different recipes and saying, okay, like, I wonder if this could be helpful for performance. And then, we had a lot of teammates that were like, well, can you guys like cook these meals? Because you really need we need bigger portions. At this time, MyFitFoods was still around, and the portions were pretty small. And I just remember we were all like, we need more food than this. This is not enough. Mm-hmm. And we also needed to be like more customized towards us. At that time, we hadn't been exposed to personal chefs or anything like that. So it was like, okay, how can we make this happen? So we turned it into a meal prep company specifically for athletes and trying to make sure they had a resource. And we actually created, or thought at the time, we were creating a one-stop shop. We had actually brought in Karen Hosenfeld to do the nutrition side of things. And then we had a couple chefs too. And we were really just making it work because we were like, why is it that when we come from overseas, we don't have anyone, if we're not playing in a professional league, if you're not an NBA or NFL or whatever, and you come home from overseas, you don't have anybody. You don't have the dietitians, you don't have the physical therapists, you don't have the doctors, you don't have anybody. You have to build your own team. And so we were like, why not create a resource for pros and be something, a place that they could come or people that they can come to get the things that they need. And so that's how we started out, knowing there was a need based off of the lack of things and resources that we had as professional athletes. And so now it's really evolved into just nutrition. So we ended up dropping the meal prep side. Those of you that have been in meal prep before, you know how crazy it can be. It is another beast. Mm-hmm. But for us, it was like, okay, what are we most passionate about? And really, it just boiled down to it being nutrition and wanting to provide athletes with a resource, especially if they don't have one.
And you bring up such a great point that even diet culture has infused into those types of companies, because I remember when I was working in football and I had a rookie and he didn't have enough time to prepare the meals. He didn't really have enough experience. And so he didn't want to buy a chef yet or use a chef. So we were doing like one of those Hello Freshes. And he's like, Becca, do we have any other options? I was like, why? What's wrong? He's like,
hungry?
I have to buy like 3 of the entrees for one night. So when they would ship them, he would get home and there would be like boxes upon boxes on his front porch.
My supper for tonight.
And he's like, there's got to be a better option. Like, I'm a grown beep man. I need some food. And I was like, I hadn't even thought about that.
Of course, the diet culture has ingrained itself in something that has become
So he
popular.
showed me a picture. It looked like Amazon Christmas. There was like all these boxes on his front porch.
Oh, poor fella.
Oh, man, you got to eat. You got to find a way to eat, man. If it's stacking those meals on top of each other, you got to do it.
Right.
So I totally get it.
Well, Bri, thanks so much for giving us some insight to the WNBA and your experience and what you've got going on. You sound pretty busy out there. So how do you live out the FIT philosophy of balancing performance, health, intellect, and taking time for self?
You know, for me, balancing all of that means one thing: making sure I carve out time for my well-being. So every morning, making sure that I carve out some time for myself to just get my day started. I'm a Christian, and so for me, it's, can I start in the Word? Can I, sit down, have a cup of tea, and really just get my mind where it needs to be before my day starts? That's moving my body. That's being intentional about what I'm putting in my body, whether that's a Reese's peanut butter cup or vegetables. It doesn't matter,
Or both.
I'm so intentional about it. Or both. I am intentional about it. So, I think that philosophy means so many different things. And for me, it's just implementing it throughout my day and on a daily basis.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I hear you're enjoying some unseasonably cooler weather in Phoenix right now.
I am shocked. So my family and I just got back from San Diego. We actually went out there to visit a family member, and the weather was so nice. And we're like, dang, we're heading back to Phoenix and it's so hot. And we got back and we were pleasantly surprised that the temperature had dropped. So we're like, yes, fall is finally here. The weather broke. And so hopefully we'll enjoy some cooler weather as we head into the Christmas time.
Yay.
Sweater season in Phoenix.
Hoodies and jeans. I'm going to come up with a song.
Yes.
Hoodies and jeans.
Exactly. I'm here for it.
Well, Bri, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Bye, Queens. Today's episode is brought to you by yours truly. I'm excited to announce the releasing of my book, Finding Your Sweet Spot in Sport, Avoiding Relative Energy Deficit in Sport, also known as RED-S, by optimizing your energy balance. Be sure to follow me on social media or go to my website, www.beccamccomble.com. Bye, Queens.
For additional information on today's topic and guests, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fit for a Queen.
And Hashtag Fit for a Queen.
Don't forget to rate us on iTunes. We can't wait for you to join us next time on Fit for a Queen.
Bye, Queens.